Hey there, welcome back. So I got three new horror books that I read. The first being House of Hunger. This is essentially vampires, but they don't really use that word. A woman is taken in as a blood maid, which is essentially you go to an aristocratic home and the head of that household needs someone to feed on. It is the best way I can describe it is they have no understanding of how medicine works, and they say that they need a fresh intake of blood to keep them healthy. It's not really, I don't know if they actually need it to survive, but they kind of act like they do. So make of that what you will. There's no like superpowers going on, but there is a little bit of a craving for it. And I really did like this book. I had the same issue with what was the other book of hers? Year of the Witching, I believe. Another book I enjoyed, but I felt it was lacking aspects in the character kind of department, the development of characters. And that was a big issue with this one, just because the beginning of it is very slow's probably the wrong word, but we're taking a long time to establish characters and setting and the world. And it relies so heavily on the relationships between the main character, the other blood maids, and the countess owner of the house estate. And I feel that it really failed in making me care about these characters. That being said, I was flying when I was reading this book. This is the book I brought with me on the plane, so I read it in like 3 sittings. I wasn't bored. I continued. It kept my attention. I just wish that the interpersonal relationships were handled a little differently or explored differently. I'm not quite sure what it was missing for me personally, but it was missing something there. And that was a heavy aspect that was required to enjoy this book completely in the beginning. By the end, though, like the plot picked up in the second half. I greatly enjoyed from the halfway point on. It was just that little bit of setup that I had a bit of issue with. But overall, highly recommend. Really enjoyed this book. Going to read the next book that this author writes just because the world and the horror elements, specifically the horror elements and the world that they create in their books is fantastic. I highly recommend for that aspect alone. Okay, the next one is The Liminal Zone. I have no idea if I'm actually pronouncing that right, but it's Junji Ito. Basically, I walked into the bookstore, had no intention of buying anything. I was just browsing around. I seen this cover, and I'm just like, you're coming home with me. I was not leaving without it, because it's... Do you see how beautiful this cover is? I was obsessed. This is so sad that I've never read a Junji Ito. I think I might have read 1 or 2 chapters of Uzumaki and thought I had read Uzumaki, and then I see it in the bookstore and it's like that thick of a tome, unless there's other stories in there as well. And I'm like, what I read was short, so I clearly did not read Uzumaki. This here's a collection of short stories, and I do not experience fear when reading. It's just, it doesn't happen. Unless it's a visual medium, television, movies with the music and the jump scares and other elements, I don't get scared. This is the closest I've ever come to experiencing fear when reading. I was not scared, but it's the closest I've ever come. These images and the story, more the images than the story, but still, were fantastic. I cannot put into words how much I love this, how much I flew through it. It's very short. It's 4, I think, short stories. Yes, 4 short stories. You have one about a weeping woman. There's a town that's, we'll say, cursed. We got the suicide forest of Mount Fuji. We've got a creepy Catholic boarding school, and just some other stuff that's going on in each story. And I love this so much. It's short story, so clearly I can't give much at all in terms of detail. Negatives being simply that some things feel a little rushed at times. Things aren't explained. Even in the afterwards, Junji Ito says that he's a little concerned that he's running out of ideas, and these are some stuff that he had in like an old notebook for ideas that could be cool. So some people who are more experienced with this author might not love it the way I did. But I have Tomoe over there on my bookshelf. That has just skyrocketed to the top of my TBR, and I will be buying Uzumaki as soon as I finish that, so loved this. The last book I read was The Devil Crept In, Ania Ahlborn, I believe her name is, and I adored aspects of this book. Aspects and parts were so well done. The horror elements, the characters, the narrative and plot, and how things fit together, and the ending. I loved this ending so much. Very clearly, there's a big but coming. One of the main points of views is a child, and I really hate child narrators. I try to push through it every time when a book sounds like it's something I'd like. I don't know what it is about a child narrator, main character, protagonist, whatever, point of view character, that it just drives me up the wall a lot of the times. I don't know what it is. This book is basically, we're following the point of view of, I can't actually remember how old they are, young teenagers, I guess. This young boy, his cousin has gone missing, and I don't want to get into spoiler territory. There's some creepy woods, and he is concerned that he's the only one that's concerned that his cousin has gone missing. He doesn't think the police and other townsfolk search party believes it's serious. They think that the cousin just ran away. The main character, the boy, also has like a speech impediment and also has visual hallucinations, and I guess I want to call it little verbal tics in terms of repeating words and patterns. And because of these visual hallucinations that he's had in the past, he's seeing what he thinks is a monster, and we don't know if it's actually taking place or if it's another hallucination. You have another main character that doesn't really show up until probably a third, maybe closer to a halfway through the book, so I'm hesitant to even talk too much about it. But yes, there is a second point of view character, and I loved this aspect of the book so much more. The beginning was really slow, but it was purposeful to establish the family dynamic, the relationships, and just little elements that will be explored further later on. So I have no complaints with the actual writing of this book. It was great. Highly recommend. It's just my stupid issue with child main characters. So those are the 3 horror books that I have read recently. I loved and recommend all of them for different reasons, and I will talk to you later. Bye.